All right, so I'm gonna be showing you guys how to make a surgical mask. This is not a respirator mask. It will not replace an N95, but it will replace the standard surgical masks. So this material that I have is H600 material that I get from my local hospital. They use this to sterilize instruments. It's double-sided. There's a white side and a blue side. And you're gonna cut a square. This is 8 inches across the top, 7 inches across the side. And then you're also gonna cut, out of the same material, you're gonna cut 24 inches by a 1/2 inch straps, and you're gonna cut 4 of them. 3, 4. Okay, so because this material is doubled, there's 2 layers to the material. For the straps, you're gonna keep both layers, and you're gonna want that to be one strap, don't take one of these and want that one layer to be a strap, because this will break. It's pretty strong paper-like material, but it is a cloth, so, but they will rip. So that's why you want these to be double-sided. All right. So once you have your squares, you're going to cut out a bunch of these, and you're going to cut out a bunch of straps. Once you have your squares, go ahead and straight stitch down about 3/4 inch from the top, a straight channel. So this is going to become the catch for a metal wire. So there's like a little channel in there. And then what you're gonna do with this piece, once you have that done, is you're gonna pleat it. For people who don't know how to pleat, if you've ever made a paper fan in school, it's the same concept. You're gonna be like, you know how you start from the edge and you fold, and then you fold, and then you fold, and then you fold, and then you fold, and you fold. That's a paper fan method. We pretty much are using the same method, but we're using it so that it's flat here. So instead of stacking all those pleats, you're going to layer them in a different way. So you're gonna fold the white has to be towards the face, okay? The white has to be towards someone's face, and then the blue has to be towards the public. So when I pleat mine, white is on my table, and then I move the blue and white both up, and I don't go further than that channel stitching that I made. And so it goes up and then it comes down. And that's one pleat. Now you're gonna keep doing that same method, but instead of stacking them on top of each other, you're going to layer them like that. So there's like 1/4 inch, if people want measurements, there's like 1/4 inch that I'm layering, and the side will look like that. So it looks kind of like a ribbon that's been folded. And then you're gonna do one more pleat. I've been doing 3 pleats. You can do as many pleats as you want. I've been doing 3 pleats for sake of time. Doing a lot of pleats and holding these pleats in place can be difficult. So we don't recommend puncturing holes, so using pins to hold these pleats in place, unless it's on the very, very edge here. So what I've been using to hold them in place instead are these clips. So you'll have these clips in place, and then you can also use hairpins if you have hairpins to hold your pleats in place. And then after you have these pleats held, I'll just move this one to the side for right now. Once you have these pleats held, you're gonna run it through your sewing machine again with a straight stitch. I tried using a zigzag stitch to hold this in place to see if that would help hold it better, but it moves it too much and it's not as clean. So I've been using a straight stitch, the same straight stitch. It's number 6 on mine. It's like the smallest straight stitch that you can have. So then you're gonna put this into your machine and lock it down, and then you're gonna do a straight stitch down, back stitch so that your stitch doesn't come off, and then you're gonna sew down this way. And then you're gonna put your needle into the fabric, lift your foot, swing your fabric this way so you can sew along the bottom to keep these 2 layers together. Once your foot is down, then you can sew a straight stitch along the bottom. And then once you get the edge, make sure that your needle is in the fabric again. Lift your foot, swing your fabric, and then now you can take these clips off here. Keep holding your pleats in place because we're going to lock our foot down and we're going to sew across the top of this. The other thing to note is that I'm not pushing the fabric through. My feeder foot is taking the fabric through. This is a pretty bulky material, and so far I haven't had an issue with it bunching or getting caught in my foot feeder, so that's been very nice. So now, since I have this channel part, this is where we're going to create the channel where that metal nose piece goes. So I have about a 3/4 of an inch down that straight stitch from the beginning. Now I'm sewing along the actual top of this, making sure to close this space off, the actual seam. So I'm going to continue going through, but at the end here, I'm not sewing all the way to the end. So notice that I didn't sew all the way to the end, so that there's an opening. This opening is where people who are wearing a surgical mask that was provided by a company can take the metal out of that mask and feed it in here. So then once you have this step done, this is the major bulk of the mask, you're going to start sewing on straps. To sew on straps, I'm going to grab this. I'll show you the layers. You're going to take one strap, which is again 2 layers. So 2 layers strap. You're going to take your mask and you're going to sandwich your mask in between the 2 strap layers, like that. You are going to switch your stitch, okay? You're going to switch the stitch to a zigzag stitch because zigzags are a little bit more, they're easier to sew to keep this in place. I tried doing a straight stitch to sew this down and it's not as sturdy. So then once you have your zigzag stitch in place, you're gonna feed this into your feeder foot, lock all 4 layers down, and then you're gonna zigzag stitch back and forth 3 times. Then you're gonna go back into the middle of the strap, so like the middle of the strap on this part, leave your needle in down, and then you're gonna turn your fabric like this. And then this is 2 layers. We wanna keep it 2 layers. So we've been sewing this down to make it easier. Now I left it on a zigzag stitch. We wanna keep it there. If we turn this to a straight stitch to sew these 2 things down, they will bunch. So there's a little bit of elasticity to this fabric, but not a lot. And then back sew, and then you can take it out. So that's how I've been sewing the straps on, and eventually you'll get to all the straps. So this one hasn't been sewn together yet, it will be. And then eventually you'll get this completed product where you have the mask completed and all 4 straps are on. I've been using normal cotton thread or polyester cotton blend thread. This is just Coats normal all-purpose thread that I've been using. I do know that some websites recommend using an actual polyester that can be through a sterilizer. So this material, because it's sterilization material that we use already, it can go through the sterilizer. So once you give these masks to your hospital, that is your local hospital, they can sterilize these masks and then hand them out to the nurses, the doctors, and anyone who uses a mask. So this tape that's on here, in case anyone is curious, this material was a part of a tray, a sterilization tray at work, because I'm I'm an OR nurse. And they put this tape on here to make sure that the material on the tray on the inside was sterilized. It turns black. These black lines means it was sterile at one point. So I took this material from a tray. The patient wasn't in the room yet, so this has not been contaminated with patient or whatever. But I just wanted to test this material to see if it would work. There's also, University of Florida has been making patterns for this material and has been testing this material, so I would check out University of Florida's Department of Anesthesiology if you have more questions about the material itself. Thank you so much for your time.